everyone, Ryan here, or MandRproductions, and today we're going to be discussing whether or not you should drop $700 on the LEGO Star Wars UCS Imperial Star Destroyer that released last year in 2019. I did one of these videos a couple years back with the UCS Millennium Falcon that cost $800. It was pretty well received, and so I thought I would give it another go here with the UCS Imperial Star Destroyer. So should you buy this set in 2020? That is the question, and I hope to help you find an answer in this video. However, to be fair, and I think anyone should acknowledge this, that there is not a one-size-fits-all type of answer for a large purchase like this. So this is really just kind of hopefully nudge you in the right direction, whether or not you should spend the full $700, wait for a sale or promo, or something like that. But let's go ahead and get over with the general specifics of the set. When you buy the set, this is how it'll be presented to you in most places, especially if you're buying it from LEGO. This is how I got it from the LEGO store, so it'll come in this big brown shipping box or whatever, and then you're going to be able to unbox it from there. So the unboxing experience is actually very nice and very different compared to what you'll see with other LEGO Star Wars sets. So you open it up and you are greeted immediately with the giant side of the box, showing off some blueprints of the Star Destroyer as well as the measurements of it, and you're going to have your mini Tantive 4 in actual size there, as well as some pretty cool insignia they created, and the minifigs for this set, which will be a pretty big topic. So for your $700, this is what you are presented with, and I will definitely say, when you pick this thing up in the store or whatever, when you hold the box with the set in hand for the first time, it definitely feels of that value. You're definitely getting that value up front with that $700, just in the weight of the thing. It's a behemoth once it's built, which we're going to show off a little bit later, but I mean, this thing, when holding in the hands alone, is just, it really is a premium product for LEGO Star Wars. The box art is beautiful, as you would expect. It's got all the little bells and whistles that you expect to see from LEGO Star Wars box art, showing off what the set can do. But where the set really differentiates itself from some of your mainline LEGO Star Wars sets that you may pick up or purchase throughout the years, and maybe one of the reasons you want to experience something like this for such a high price, is that unboxing experience. So you can see as you open up these flaps, you're going to have another set of flaps inside, showing off that beautiful black studded box art there. Really love that. And then you also have this Imperial Star Destroyer insignia logo that they created specifically for the release of this set. Now, you're going to have to kind of get this in the way there, but basically, you remove the instruction manual box, which in and of itself has more of those silhouetted blueprint type things showing off the measurements of the Star Destroyer. The inside of the boxes also have the Star Destroyer kind of sketching on it, and it looks beautiful, especially when it's sealed and you just take it out. Mine, obviously, the tape's off, so the flaps are kind of flipping out there, but when it's all kind of sealed and together there, it creates a pretty seamless shot of the bottom side of the Star Destroyer, which is pretty amazing. Let me flip that for you and kind of see exactly what you're looking at. So that is really cool, and all of these boxes will open up and then have separate bags of the set within. So that is how that set is stored in there, and that basically makes sure that this giant box doesn't become a crumpling mess over time. It basically keeps the structure of everything, and that is all the boxes inside. How about that instruction manual experience? Because that is also going to be considerably different than what you see in a normal set too. Let's take a peek. So for your $700, you're also getting a substantially better instruction manual experience. It's binded, it is ginormous, coming in at just about 500 pages there, and it's a real treat to kind of flip through this thing. And what the instructions on these large UCS sets offer is a real unique insight to how the set is made and some history of the actual vehicle in Star Wars, or ship in Star Wars. So in this case, the Imperial Star Destroyer, fun facts and such. So it is a really neat experience to be able to flip through this and kind of get you hyped up before you start building this set. And I really love that about this set and other larger UCS sets in general. And I think that really goes a long way to creating this real premium product feel and giving you that value for that $700. You may pick out stuff in these Q&As that you may not have known otherwise, and that's a really special thing for a lot of LEGO Star Wars fans, I'd bet. So that is really what you're getting with something like this that is just so cool that you can't really get in those smaller non-UCS sets that you may see there on the background shelf. So that is that. Let's get to that build. Is that build actually a good experience for your $700? And I would say absolutely. You are going to be spending a lot of time building this, especially for less experienced builders. I would say it could take you a few days, maybe a week to build this if you're just building a couple hours a day. And it has a really very interesting and really well laid out building structure. It's really easy to build, I would say. It just takes a long time. It's a lot of pieces. It's a lot of little parts in there, a lot of greebling on on some of the things. So it's nice in the fact that it does have the colorized interior. You're not going to be able to see this when the set is together, but when you're building it, stuff like the blues and the reds and the yellows and the greens make it a lot easier to build the set because it helps contrast here when you're looking at this, what would otherwise just be a gray slate there, and it gives you something to look at. So that is the real gist of the building experience. Let's bring in the ship. So as you can tell with me in frame, this thing is an absolute behemoth. It is massive, undoubtedly, but this is not for the faint of heart for you price per piece fans, because this set only has 4,784 pieces, and at $700, that's going to run you just under 15 cents per piece. Now, my argument against that, or against the people that will be crying wolf in the comments section about how the price per piece is a ripoff, is that price per piece really doesn't matter. They could have easily made a bunch of these plates be 2x6 plates instead of 8x16 and completely artificially inflated the piece count. And that is my reasoning as to why piece count doesn't matter. You see these 6x6 tiles could have easily been like 9 2x2 tiles instead, and that would have looked worse, but hey, your piece count's up, so that's good. So you can kind of hopefully get my point there as to why I don't think piece count matters, especially with this particular set. But it's a behemoth. It definitely commands attention, so if you're looking for something in that realm that you can put as the centerpiece on your dining room table, I hope you have a big dining room table, by the way, this might be that set, or maybe just in the living room on a big shelf or something. It would definitely go well in either space. Again, gonna need a big space for it, but it would look very nice and definitely command attention. And to that point, it's also not super colorful, right? And that's, you know, good and bad for certain people, but I think if you want to put this in like a public space, having something that is rather monotone may better fit the kind of theme of the room, in my opinion. So just from like an interior design standpoint and getting everything to kind of tie in together, this might work better than something like a UCS Slave 1, which has that bit of green and red in it, as opposed to something like this, which is just gray with the black base, which just kind of is seamless there. Anyway, as far as the minifigs go for this set, if you're buying a set and you want minifigs, good minifigs, this is definitely not the set for you either. If you are looking for good minifigs, do not buy a $700 Imperial Star Destroyer. I don't feel like I should have to say that. I think it should be very obvious just looking at what you get with an Imperial crew member and an Imperial officer, but I'll say it anyway so that people know. Don't buy it if you want really good minifigs, because this set does not deliver on the minifig. Much like with the UCS Millennium Falcon, it should go without saying that this is not a playset, and if you're buying this for like a kid, you probably shouldn't unless they are just really into displaying their Lego sets. If they want to play with it, this is not what you want for a play set, like, at all. This is not going to deliver any play value. I would even wager that anyone under the age of maybe 14 or 15 will have a real tough time picking up and moving this on their own if they're able to do it at all. Like, you are going to have to help them if you're the parent. So I would definitely keep that in mind. This is definitely not a set for play. If you're buying it for somebody or for yourself, it is 100% a display set, tried and true all the way through. There's not even an interior section like on that UCS Falcon, which is a fault to some people, but not to me. I'm okay with that. I don't think that this set really needed an interior. It doesn't really have a space for one that would make sense, and the inclusion of such a thing could have very easily taken away from the stability of the panels on the set, or made it look worse by introducing a seam that didn't need to be there otherwise. So that is definitely something to take note of. This is 100% a set for display. So should you buy it for play? Obviously not. But for display, 100%, this is one of the better Lego Star Wars display sets you'll be seeing on the market for the foreseeable future, in my opinion. Unless maybe they release like a UCS AT-AT. I could see it myself liking that one a little bit more for display, but hey, that's just my personal opinion and you may think differently. So what are the flaws in this set? Why shouldn't you buy this set other than the bad minifigs? This set does have a few flaws, and I think that's fair to point out that there is a large kind of gap here in the middle of the set, and it's not super noticeable because they do a pretty good job of covering it up, or covering it under, if that makes sense, because they have gray lining the underneath here, so it basically is kind of filled in with gray, but it just doesn't connect here at the middle very well. But yeah, it does have a rather large gap there in the middle that is kind of noticeable, but at any off angle you are not really going to notice, and you probably didn't even notice it too much before I mentioned it. It's, again, not that noticeable at any off angle, but dead on you'll definitely notice it. It goes all the way up through, and and to the command bridge where it kind of stops, because the command bridge is built differently than the middle section of the ship here, but definitely something to note. Also, the Tantive 4 is definitely a nice little addition off to the side here, which you can have connect onto the side of the Star Destroyer. Not really a bad thing, but just kind of a thing that exists within the set here. Another very important factor that will go into whether or not you should personally buy the set is whether or not you actually have space for this. Like I said a little bit earlier, talking about whether you could put it in like the dining room or living room or whatever, if you're like me and you just have your bedroom, you may want to be very cautious with this purchase, or you may want to make the purchase before the set retires and keep it in the box and don't build it until you have the proper space to display it, because otherwise it would be a giant headache. This set absolutely would not fit on these shelves. You could not make it fit if you had shelves like these. It's not gonna work. You're gonna need a dedicated table space, or maybe a little coffee table that is big enough for the stand. Just the dimensions of the stand. I mean, the front end can definitely hang off somewhere, but the stand definitely has to be completely on a hard and sturdy surface. You do not want to risk this thing falling off of anything, because I think if this thing falls off and breaks, you're going to have a real tough time putting it back together, and that does not sound like a fun time given how difficult of a build it already is trying to get it together at the start with the numbered bags. You definitely don't want to do it without numbered bags. So I will say, if you're going to buy this, make sure you have the proper space for it, and I will give you the dimensions of the stand so that you know what that proper space is. So with our ruler in hand, the dimensions of the stand are as follows. We're looking at about 10 inches in width here, and in depth it's going to be somewhere about 14 inches. So you're going to need a space that's about 10 inches by 14 inches. You can Google up the translations for centimeters for that if you want, but it's not too big of a space actually. For a ship that is so big, the footprint is actually remarkably small as far as actual shelf space that it needs to survive. Anything else is going to be gravy here. Basically, you just need the space to hold the stand, because you don't really need space under this. You can just have this hanging out into the abyss. That being said, that's also a risk that you could walk into this and knock it over. Someone else more likely would walk into this and knock it over, and you definitely don't want that to happen. But at the bare minimum, you're going to need about 10 inches by 14 inches of shelf space to display this, as well as the actual space of the ship in airspace, if that makes sense. So it is quite a commitment as far as space goes, and you definitely want to make sure you have the proper space allotted for this if you're going to make that $700 purchase, because the worst thing that I think can happen is that you spend that $700, you build this thing, you're all excited, and then you're holding it, and you're holding it, and you're holding it, and you cannot find a place to put it down, and all of a sudden you have a big problem, because it is a big set that requires a big space for you to display it. So in pretty absolute terms here, do I think this set is worth $700? Yes. Do I think you should pay $700 for it? Yeah, probably. If you're going to buy it, you're probably not going to end up getting it on sale. They don't typically set sets like this on sale too often. You may want to look for like a double VIP points week or month or whatever at lego.com or the Lego store. You may end up getting a pretty good deal with double VIP points factored in, and maybe if there's a promo going on at the same time, you may just luck out and find yourself paying in total value about $600 for this and getting about $70 in VIP points and maybe $30 worth of promos thrown in there. And then you're looking at a pretty good deal for a set that I already think is worth that full retail price. Now, as far as saving up for it, you may have to save up for this. This may be a purchase that you don't have $700 just blow on, and that's okay. It's definitely fun to save and work towards something, and this is definitely something that I think would be very rewarding if you were to save for it and actually go and buy it. And I would recommend going to buy this. I mean, you can always order it online on lego.com. You'll get free shipping, whatever, but there's something to be said about actually going to a store and buying something like this and walking out of there with this 20-pound box in your hands, or maybe on that, I don't know if they have the little cart for this one. I don't think they did like they did with the Millennium Falcon, but maybe you can bring a stroller for it. There is something about the experience of actually physically going to buy a product, and especially when you're going to spend that much money, it might be fun to just bring the cash. Hopefully I have helped you make a decision as to whether or not you should buy the $700 UCS Star Destroyer. Obviously, one answer will never fit all, especially in a case like this where you're spending so much money on what a lot of people would just consider to be a children's toy. I do not agree with that at all. I love this thing. It's an awesome display piece. It looks amazing. It feels amazing. I wish you could touch it with me right now. That might have been a little bit weird, but I'm going to leave it in. So let me know if there are any other LEGO sets. They don't have to necessarily be Star Wars sets that you would like to see this style or some style near this of a video on as a should you buy this or that type of set, because I do like these, and the Millennium Falcon one did pretty well, and if this video does really well, I will definitely continue to do this series in some sort of a more regular fashion. So thank you all for watching. Let me know if you end up purchasing this set, or maybe you already have and you just watch this video for the hell of it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.